So we shall continue in the 2024-2025 season previews today with the Chicago Blackhawks. So I got a special treat for you guys. It finally came in. The Hockey News' 24-25 Fantasy Yearbook. It shows the preview for every single team for this coming season. I was trying to wait until this came out. I even pushed back my season previews about a week later than usual because I would always start them, and then when I get to around this point, I would get the notebook. And what was annoying me was that it took longer to get in even though I pushed it back. So I said, all right, I'm just going to start it, and of course here it comes right where I predicted. So the 5 teams that were before it, I do apologize. It doesn't bring in a ton into the preview, but I do get to read a few things in it, talk about some of the stuff they talk about. Makes it a more entertaining video, I guess, instead of me just kind of going off of my thoughts. I can bounce myself off of some of the Hockey News and stuff. But regardless, y'all aren't here for that. The Chicago Blackhawks are a team that has been at the bottom of the NHL the last couple of seasons, and it really started to take off, or take down, I guess, in 21-22 when they went 28-42-12 for 68 points. They were 27th in the NHL. That year was a disaster. You had the Seth Jones trade in the summer. You had the allegations come out. Stan Bowman resigns. There was a lot of turmoil in the NHL. There was a lot of hate surrounded by the Chicago Blackhawks, and there honestly still is. There are a lot of people who see what happened with Chicago in 2010 and say that they didn't deserve those cups because of that, etc. They hate the Blackhawks because of that. It's definitely, it's not the worst reason in the world to hate a team, for sure. And honestly, as someone who was a Flyers fan in 2010, I was 3 years old. But knowing that went down, it's a little unacceptable the way that people handled it. But we're not going to get into that here. In 22-23 was when it really got bad because they traded Patrick Kane midway through the season. It was Jonathan Tays' last game as a Blackhawk, at least for right now. They went 26-49-7 for 59 points. They were 30th in the NHL this past year, or the year before, and they got first overall. Selected Connor Bedard, one of the best players to be a part of the NHL in the next couple of seasons. He is the absolute future of this team, and they got their cornerstone. It's about building that up. And actually, this past year was actually worse than the year before. They went 23-53-6 for 52 points, so a 7-point drop. They were only dropped one spot in the standings at 31st, but they were still really bad. They were still not a fun team to watch. Besides Connor Bedard, a lot of their guys really got hurt. And apart from Bedard, not a lot of exciting things were going on. I guess Peter Mrazek looked entertaining, but, the team wasn't that exciting. Now, heading into the 2024-25 season, they made it abundantly clear that they want to make a lot of moves. And they made a lot of them in the offseason, bringing in a lot of veterans or guys on one-year contracts that they can flip for future assets or just put them alongside Bedard and see what happens. So, the arrivals they brought in, Ilya Mikheyev, Teuvo Teravainen, Tyler Bertuzzi, Patrick Maroon, Craig Smith, Alec Martinez, Laurent Brossoit, and TJ Brody. So they brought a lot of upgrades and kind of guys to really just kind of make the team look stronger. I'm not saying they are playoff stronger, anywhere close to that, but they're definitely better than they were last year. I think bringing in Mikheyev, Teravainen, and Bertuzzi are guys that are going to fit in actually pretty well in their top 9. Teravainen first line immediately. Former Chicago Blackhawk, got traded early on in his career. He's going back to that team. I would imagine he plays on that first line with Bedard, unless if Philip Kurashev plays better than him in training camp. But again, Patrick Maroon, also a guy who can fit in well on the depth or the fourth line, I guess you could say. Additionally, you also have guys like Craig Smith, Alec Martinez, and TJ Brody. Brody and Martinez definitely help out bolstering the blue line. And then you get Brossoit as your backup for 2 seasons. Or your 1A, 1B. I don't know what they want to do. I would assume Mrazek's the starter. But regardless, it is way better than Arvid Soderblom, who has won less than 10 games in his NHL career. God bless him. But regardless, again, the team is a lot better when you look at it on paper. And they didn't lose anyone that was big impact either, especially at this stage. They lost Rem Pitlick, Colin Blackwell, Jared Tenorti, Taylor Radish, and Tyler Johnson. All guys, Tyler Johnson was hurt a lot of the year. Rem Pitlick was a third or fourth line forward on this team. Same with Blackwell. Same with Tenorti, was a third pairing, if not depth defenseman. Honestly, those guys aren't a part of their future. It makes a lot of sense that they moved on from them, and they're moving on to better things. Now, I have the daily face-off projected lineup for this final part. From now on, starting with Colorado tomorrow, I am going to be using the Hockey News' projected lineup because I think that's more reliable. It also gives me the extras as well, and I think that, I don't know, the Hockey News and the Daily Face-Off, I think they're both reliable sources, but I like the Hockey News a lot more. But regardless, let's get into it here. Top 6 is Tyler Bertuzzi, Connor Bedard, and Teuvo Teravainen. Then you have Taylor Hall, Andreas Athanasiou, and Philip Kurashev. It's not terrible. It's honestly, that first line is not that bad. Honestly, though, I wouldn't be surprised if they do decide to move Taylor Hall up to the first line. Again, there are a few things that I kind of disagree with Daily Faceoff. I've said that a lot in these videos. But anywho, I do think that having Bertuzzi on the first line isn't exactly a bad thing either. Obviously, Bedard first line, you're hoping for a breakout season from him, hoping for an exciting year from him too, and not to be slumped. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Your second line, you have, it's not terrible. Kurashev had an alright year last year. Athanasiou has been a good center last couple of years for them. He's been in and out of the lineup recently, though. And honestly, not a terrible top 6. Your bottom 6, then, is Nick Foligno, Jason Dickinson, Ilya Mikheyev, Lucas Reichel, Ryan Donato, and Craig Smith. So again, a lot of the guys you brought in the offseason. Your extra forward is Joey Anderson and Patrick Maroon, who doesn't even crack the lineup on the Daily Faceoff. Kind of surprising there. But anyways, I do think that Lucas Reichel, one of the guys in there, is in need of a huge bounce-back season. They have him on the 4th line here. I'm not sure how that's particularly too reliable. And they're also missing a few guys, like Frank Nazar, I think, could have a chance to make this team out of training camp. I think that there's a chance that, honestly, there's a lot of excitement with some of the young guys coming up, and especially, too, Artem Levshinov, who could make that defense, which doesn't look that great right now. Which, speaking of which, your first pairing, I almost said Mark-Edger Vlasic, Alex Vlasic and Seth Jones, Kevin Korchinski and Connor Murphy, then Alec Martinez and TJ Brody. So honestly, not a horrible top 6. Your extra is Phillips, and obviously Levshinov will play into there as well. But again, I do think that Vlasic and Jones, they're both solid defenders. I know Jones gets a lot of discredit from people around the NHL. He's overpaid, but he's not terrible. He's on a bad team. Obviously, that makes his stats look a little bit terrible. Vlasic, I have a lot of faith in. Same with Korchinski. I think Levshinov could fit in just well in there. But the only issue is that with that, they're probably going to have to trade someone. That's why you sign guys to 2- and 1-year deals, so you can flip them at the trade deadline. That's exactly what Chicago did with a lot of these moves. I wouldn't be surprised if half of the guys we're saying in this video are gone by March. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Your goaltending tandem is Peter Mrazek and Laurent Brossoit. Your third string is Arvid Soderblom, as I mentioned earlier. I like the tandem. Not the worst in the league, for sure. My favorite team's there. But anyways, I do think that the goalie tandem is actually solid. It's not going to be their tandem of the future because you have Gazin and Comesso coming up in the pipeline. And, of course, Soderblom, there's still some question there, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, they have goalies coming up in the system that do look like they have potential. It's just a matter of can that transition over. Going into the Hockey News' fantasy notebook here, I think we should take a look at what they kind of have here. They have them 8th in the Central, which is around where I have them finishing. Shouldn't surprise anyone there. The biggest X factor of this team is 2 key questions to consider. How much will Bedard improve with better line mates and depth around him? And how will Lucas Reichel, a 2020 first rounder, respond after he struggled in the NHL last year and was sent to the minors? These are 2 things that I kind of talked about a little bit. I think that Bedard, honestly, around those guys, he's going to have better line mates to, I guess, not only pass to, but get passes from. And we could see Bedard put up a pretty solid season. Like, the guy put up 61 points, nearly a point per game, even with missing a lot of time. So I definitely do like the odds of that happening, and I'm very excited for that. But I also do think with Lucas Reichel at the same time, he's in need of a huge year. He needs a bounce-back season for sure, or else he's probably not a part of Chicago's long-term plan. Again, as I said, there are good chances that guys like Frank Nazar and Artem Levshunov and even Del Mastro, who I talked about in a pool overview a couple weeks ago, could make the lineup 100%. It's just a matter of, can these guys make it out of camp, and do they have a good training camp, and do they beat out these veterans like Martinez, Brody, Murphy, etc.? Like, we'll see what happens. I like how Nazar played last year. It doesn't hurt whatsoever to send him down to the minors. But honestly, I am looking forward to seeing the Blackhawks in the future. But as of this year, they'll probably get a little bit better standings-wise. But this is probably going to be another year of just kind of riding through the rebuild and hopefully getting another top pick. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe down below. I would greatly appreciate it. And anyways, that's it for me. I will see you guys tomorrow with the Avalanche preview. Adios.